Ndrugutsvaga. Sorry guys, ndrugutsvaga. I'm looking for my ndrugutsvaga 𝗧𝗵𝗶𝘀. So we talk. Pane zvanaichishaya. We want to talk. Ndipe a minute. Mbotsvaga zvandiri kutsvaga, handisi kuona zvinhu zvandiri kutsvaga. Timbosefamazwi. Sorry guys, ndada ndisina ngowani. Right. Let's talk, or let's discuss a bit about this topic about political cruelty. We are talking about cruelty. What is cruelty? So that people understand where we are coming from. Behavior or attitude. Behavior which causes physical or mental harm to another, especially a spouse, whether intentionally or not. Hanzi komoenda kutoilet musina matishu semkoma uyai makakwana. Nachitsvaga ngirikini bareta. Agi urikudena kayo ndachitsvaga bareta. Saka ndazomhanya kunotsvaga ndakanga zuva ndakarisiya mudining, so toda kunyatsodressa on our trademark beret. So what we mean by cruelty is that someone is showing a behavior which causes physical or mental harm to another. Stones, how are you? So what I'm saying here is I'm looking at, in Zimbabwe today, the people that we elected into parliament, the people that we went with as opposition in parliament, it's pathetic and it is hurting my heart to say the people that we chose representing opposition have today sold out. They have helped ZANU-PF mutilate our constitution. They have destroyed the hope that we had in the MDC. When Zimbabweans went for 2018 elections, they had this at heart that we are sick and tired of ZANU-PF politics. So what we want is to change a government. And by changing a government, Zimbabweans, they voted MDC overwhelmingly, thinking that when we go into parliament, these people are going to represent us. These people are going to represent us. We never knew, or we never know, or we never knew that we were not going to be represented by these people. These people are representing their pockets. These people are representing their tummies. They are in parliament because of their tummy. It doesn't help Zimbabweans that 2013, the whole nation agreed to a new constitution with a running mate. And today, few individuals are going against the majority, are going against the masses. This is what I call political cruelty. This is what we term political cruelty. And they don't care how much harm they cause to people of Zimbabwe. They don't care how much harm or mental harm that they are causing to the electorate, the people who elected them into parliament. And if I think of Douglas Monzora now, I've never wished anyone death. The rest of my life, I've never wished anyone death. I have said to God, when time comes, torai vakaipa Mwari, torai varoi. I wasn't aware that time varoi vataifamba navo MDC tichifunga kuti tiri kufamba nema MDC cadres. ZANU-PF lacked majority in parliament. They were not going to pass this law or this rule. But because of the help that they got from Monzora, this is where we ended up in, ladies and gentlemen. So this cruelty is something that we want to talk about today. The political cruelty that we have seen, that Douglas Monzora, who was not elected but who was selected. Monzora was not elected but was selected to represent MDC in the senatorial chamber. He has whipped the people that you elected. He removed the people who were elected, killing what we call democracy in our country. And he replaced them with his friends and relatives. They call MDC Tsvangirai. They are trying to tarnish the legacy of Morgan Tsvangirai. Because I am telling you, with what we have witnessed today, this will leave Tsvangirai a hated man. Tsvangirai will be hated even in his grave. People would say, oh dear, this gentleman used to go with the likes of Monzoras. And they are saying this is the legacy of Tsvangirai that they are following today. He has joined hands with the ZANU-PF to destroy the constitution that people wrote. 65 senators voted for the bill against 10. The MDCT has officially enabled ZANU-PF to mutilate the constitution of the country. This is a sad chapter for all progressive Zimbabweans. This is a sad chapter. Even the people of ZANU-PF are shocked. They never expected this to happen. The mutilation of the constitution that you guys wrote. And we are still quiet about it. I am saying I've never wished anyone death in my life. Anzina Amos Monzora deserve more than death. Let's say Gehenna. The gentleman has joined ZANU-PF that we have opposed for the past 21 years. We stood for a new constitution. And a few years down the line, what we all achieved has gone under the bridge. It has gone under the bridge. Ladies and gentlemen, I am beginning to look at these sellouts. I can't imagine 𝗖𝗵𝗂𝗪𝗁 twerking for ED. 𝗪𝗵𝗁𝗁 twerking for ED to mutilate our constitution. Kana pane pandakarwadziwa in my life. Probably this is the second day randarwadziwa. The second day randarwadziwa. Constitution yakanyorwa nevanhu. I think Tsvangirai is turning in his grave. Looking what Monzora is doing, joining hands in mutilating the country's constitution. Monzora should sit down and listen to himself. He should sit down and reflect. If the people of Zimbabwe do not, if you don't condemn Monzora for this, that means you have got no one to condemn. Bishop 𝗖𝗵𝗂𝗂𝗪𝗏 was far, far much better than Douglas Monzora. Nanzina Paulos, next time zivai kukosha kwema MP, not one individual. It's not about kukosha kwema MP. Because the people of Zimbabwe voted the people they wanted to represent them. And ED na Monzora, they joined hands and removed the people who were elected by the people. This is clear, ladies and gentlemen. Apana nganga inoda kuona kuti zviri kuitika. Kana makanzwa zvandakataura nezuro. This was pre-planned soon after Morgan Tsvangirai died. That ZANU-PF went around and said Morgan Tsvangirai died and MDC died. So some people are arguing that this is a game of compromise. If you don't know this, you have got no business in politics. Monzora compromised. There are things he wants his bills paid. He wants to eat. He wants his children sent to school. But you cannot do that at the expense of the people of Zimbabwe. My blood is boiling at the moment. Those who were killed because of the MDC are boiling, are turning in their graves. And 𝗪𝗵𝗁, I watched the rigging video. You are a courageous kid. Keep this up. Thank you, 𝗪𝗵𝗁. Hans 𝗪𝗵𝗁, the more shocking news on ITV way. 𝗪𝗵𝗂𝗏. This is shocking. The world is shocked. I am telling you. Mukaona Monzora achisimuka again in politics. Mondibvunza. This is greediness at par. I've never thought in my life that someone would stand up and destroy a party that we have built for the past 20 years. Monzora has single-handedly destroyed the MDC. Monzora and his disciples of the darkness, the likes of 𝗪𝗵𝗂𝗏, the likes of 𝗪𝗵𝗁, 𝗪𝗵𝗁, they have stood against the people. And we should not spare them in our anger. Ladies and gentlemen, what we need now is to lodge a broader strategy that must involve the global attention. I'm glad the British have noted it. The British, they supported 𝗖𝗵𝗂𝗪𝗃𝗂𝗏's coup, but they have noted it now. They have looked at the continued harassment and incarceration of the likes of 𝗬𝗏𝗪, and they said sanctions must be intensified. I am talking exactly this in a similar way. Our learned 𝗧𝗵𝗶𝗀 said sanctions must be intensified. Hans, can you please resend the rigging video? I will do that. I've posted it yesterday. People were requesting it, so I did post it. It's on my my Facebook. The regime is using every trick to manipulate the rule before 2023. It is fully aware that it cannot survive without a semblance of rule of law. The regime can never survive. No one will ever beat Nelson Chamisa in ZANU-PF. This is why they have found willing tools in the likes of Douglas Monzora to mutilate our constitution. Kana wanga usati warwadziwa nezveZimbabwe, I think today is a day that must hurt you. I am looking at a country known as Zimbabwe, which entered a possibly dangerous era in November 2017. The people of Zimbabwe are reflecting and crying. What happened in 2017? The interference of the military in the civilian affairs in our country is always a cause of concern. The mutilation of our constitution is also a cause of concern. If we revisit the coup characterized by violence and overthrow of Gabriel Robert Mugabe, which we saw the likes of Jonathan Moyo and Akasukwere running for their lives, if we go deeper with our concerns, why the military will be going forward into an election in 2018, why they interfered in our election in 2018, it will leave us to think that Will the military be neutral? After the 2018 elections, we saw 𝗧𝗵𝗶𝘀 saying any negotiation in Zimbabwe must involve the military, because the military in our country is not a neutral military. They are a political military, a ZANU-PF military. They have invested more interest in the affairs of our country at a political level, not at a civilian level. So, ladies and gentlemen, starting from now onwards, going forward, there is potential violence that will always surface in our country, that has always surfaced in our country for years. I foresee a lot of violence in our country. I don't think, 𝗪𝗵𝗁, I'm not sure when they are going to Mozambique. But whatever happened today, the reputation of the MDC has been tarnished by naysayers who always work for their tummies, who think with their tummies, they don't think with their brains, who defecate brains. They have joined hands with the most violent political party in SADC, if not world over. Ladies and gentlemen, if you look at what happened in Angola, if you look at what is happening in Mozambique today, if you revisit the independence of Namibia and South Africa, the violence which was initiated towards the end of the era for the apartheid, our country was born out of a violent struggle and maintained the violence machinery until today. Our military has dominated our politics, and the people of Zimbabwe have entered in another conflict soon after 2017. Ladies and gentlemen, perhaps you and me must start reflecting on exactly what we want to achieve in our country. The outcome of the senator or senatorial vote, where Douglas Monzora has clearly whipped our senators to say, look, go vote for ZANU-PF. That shows we have got no opposition in parliament. What emerged out of that vote, the results indicate that we have got no opposition in parliament. And the people who are there are just buying time so that they get cars. They eat. They lack discipline. They lack foresight. I know Zimbabwe came through a violent revolution, a struggle that resulted in the killing of a lot of Zimbabweans. People of Zimbabwe today can't stomach the violence that ZANU-PF has initiated. Ladies and gentlemen, a violence perpetrated by the National Army, by certain elements that Zimbabweans know. If you look at our military, it has got this propensity of violence And we must address that issue of violence. Whatever came out of parliament today is an initiative of violence. It's trying to force Zimbabweans to uprise using violence against a violent mafia. Varume, takaenda ku 2018 election. We did not go there for this cruelty that we are witnessing today. Mental harm that is being caused to the Zimbabweans by the same people we elected in parliament. Our representatives were removed from parliament and replaced by the naysayers, the yes people, who are easily wiped into believing in Monzora. Ladies and gentlemen, kana pane zuva randakarwadziwa muupenyu, nhasi zuva rangu rechipiri kunyasonzwa kuti ndabayiwa pamoyo. Because ever since Zimbabwe has been seen as a violent country where incidents of violence were reported, and people have aired these incidences at a greater scale. What we witnessed, or what we are witnessing today, is the death of democracy in our country. The results have amplified our call for removal of ZANU-PF. The results have amplified our call for intensification of sanctions against ZANU-PF. I don't hesitate to call for Monzora to be put on sanctions, Kupe to be put on sanctions, and all those idiots, the likes of Mashakada, to be put on sanctions. Because whatever we witness today, it's not a ZANU-PF thing, but it's a Zimbabwe thing that the people are crying. Well, whether you are ZANU-PF, whether you are MDC, whether you are NDU or any other political party, the results that we got from parliament, it's a sad chapter in our life. Of course, Zimbabwe came through a liberation war, a revolution that the people still sing. A war that ended in 1980 that the people still sing. Disturbances of Midlands and Matabeleland that we all still sing. And everything that Zimbabweans fought for in the liberation war has come to naught. That war has come to naught again. We have got people who died during the war. We have got people who died after the war, who died for a good cause. So Zimbabweans must be able to write their own constitution. Zimbabweans must be able to respect their constitution. Not a few thugs who were handpicked by Douglas Monzora to fill seats in parliament and say, look, we have to give ZANU-PF back executive powers that we said we do not want in our country. Ladies and gentlemen, when are we going to stand against this type of evidence that we have? What do you want to nudge you into action? I don't really understand what Zimbabweans want that can push them into action. We had the previous MDC executive, previous parliaments. I've never seen anything like this in the past 40 years. This is my first time to witness the death of democracy, where those who pretend to be opposition join hands with the ruling party to mutilate our constitution. and the people still allow Douglas Monzora to move freely in Zimbabwe and address them. Ladies and gentlemen, varume nevakadzi, it is evident now that the guy you thought was your president or opposition, the guy is never opposition. Zimbabwe has become a laughingstock in the SADC region, to the extent that violence has been even used against the people you elected as members of parliament, whipping them in line to say, you go and say yes, yes, yes. That is use of violence. People are being intimidated by Monzora. If you do not do this, I will recall you from parliament. Varume, kana chizoti tichamuka rini. Mubvunzo wangu uri kwamuri vana veZimbabwe. Do you really understand the significance of all the bills that have sailed through in parliament today? It is a yardstick of denying you a candidate that you want, of denying you a say in the running of your country. Because we cannot all be vice presidents, but a running mate would come from you guys. If you look at the face of it, we have suffered the worst abductions probably in SADC, if not the world. Zimbabweans have suffered a lot. They have suffered all these abductions. Since 1980, people have been abducted and the people have disappeared in Zimbabwe. There are arbitrary arrests and detention of opposition political members. This has happened for the past 41 years. There are assaults that have been carried out by the army, carried out by the police and prison. There are attempted murders, people being attempted to be murdered. If we look back, the likes of 𝗵𝗂𝗶𝘁𝗵𝗋 were shot and injured, and the state wanted to kill 𝗂𝗵𝗁. We are receiving death threats on every minute today. Is it the Zimbabwe that we want, where people disappear every minute? In Zimbabwe, someone disappears every minute. Where freedoms are never exercised. 40 years, 41 years of independence. One radio station, one television station. Where's the freedom that we have demanded for years? People have been murdered in our country, and we are quiet. There's a lot of political discrimination in our country. We have remained mum. We have seen political activist women being raped in our country. We have gone through a lot of torture. I myself here have gone through a lot of torture, intensive torture. Schools have closed. People never built schools. ZANU-PF never built schools. Hospitals are unfunctional. So when are we going to stand, ladies and gentlemen? I've spoken about abductions here, time and again. I've spoken about arbitrary arrests and detention of political activists time and again. The assaults that we have witnessed, army butchering or battering Zimbabweans, the police battering Zimbabweans. Who is going to protect you? Who is going to protect Zimbabweans? Ladies and gentlemen, ever since I started this live on Facebook videos or whatever you call platforms, I have sung and sung of all these things that have happened in our country. When are we going to stand up as Zimbabweans? When are you going to stand up as a Zimbabwean? Aurwadziwe nesituation iri munyika mako sei? Sei tisingarwadziwe nesituation yatiri kuona on daily basis? Vachangirai vakataura kuti vana ava ndaona vasvika pensionable age vasina kumboshanda kana one day. Vanhu vaiti vachangirai vanonyepa. Today we have got thousands and thousands of Zimbabwe youth who have never worked in that country. Havana kana saving chaichayo. Havana kana pension yekuti kana abuda basa anonodya anoende panogara payo. Vanhu vari kukura vachasvika kuma 78 years vanenge vari chembere dzakaita sei? Chembere isina imba. Chembere isina pekugara. Chembere isina chekudya. Vana vachaita sei ramangwana? And vana vari kumbozvifunga here kuti zuva ranhasi kupfuura kwaraita, it's another day gone that we will never come back in your life. Tichazosimuka rini? Vana veZimbabwe muchazosvika rini muchitambura? Tikatadza kutaura, tikatadza kusimuka nhasi, muchazosimuka rini? When do you want to rise up, you guys? Varume, muchazoda kuwana imwe nyika yamuchada kuwana kupi? Yamuchazowana rugare? Imbondiudzai. Nyika yenyu yamuchazoenda imimi yamuchazoda kuwana rugare inyika ipi? Kana pane zuva rarwadza izuva ranhasi. Zita rinonzi MDC richapedzerana kuti munhu akariona so anenge achituka achiridza tsamwa. Hataimbosvika kuti tingasvike patasvika nhasi pekuti tinoona vanhu vanozvitire MDC vachivhota pamwe chete neZANU-PF. Hatisati tazviona izvozvo. No matter how much violence that ZANU-PF can do, pane violence ichapfuura yatakaona 2008 here. Pane violence ichapfuura yatakaona kumaTebeleland here. Comparing the violence that we are witnessing today. Tiri kutyei varume, tatyei. Waiti ukafamba muAngola mave neviolence yaityisa muAngola. Ukaenda kuSouth Africa kune violence inotyisa. Ukapinda muMozambique today mune hondo iri kutyisa muMozambique. Pamwe nyika yatikatotaura kuti yakanyarara iBotswana neNamibia. But ukada kuona Angola, ukaenda kuMozambique kune hondo iri kutyisa nhasi. Hazvirevi kuti vanhu vanoda hondo. But vanhu vanopushwa kupinda muhondo with what we are witnessing in Zimbabwe today. Kune vanhu vaakufunga kuti Zimbabwe is their private property. They are doing whatever they want with your life, with my life, my children's future. When are we going to rise up as Zimbabweans? When are we going to say enough is enough? Kana pane zuva rarwadza izuva ranhasi. Muchasimuka rini vana veZimbabwe kuramba kuti izvi hatidi? Chamuri kutya chii makavharirwa mudzimba? Muri kutyei mabasa hamuende? Dai kuri kuti handikasaenda kubasa handizohore pay. Hauna pay yaunayo. Tatyei kutadza kuzvisunungura. Kana nyika iyi vakaisunungura yakasungirirwa pagumbo rembada, ngavasungirire vanoti titore here futi. Varume, tanyanya utadzei. Tatadzei, tanyanya utadzei. We are deliberately neglecting ourselves. And this neglect will backfire just in a few years to come. It's gonna backfire, I'm telling you. Varume vakuru vairovana ndo chokwadi atetevhali. Vairovana kuroverana kokokore vatengerwa najava. Vana ukatarisa vasikana vana Joanna Mamombe vari mujeri kuti hanzi vakadresa vanhu 5. Java akadresa vanhu over 1,000. Police yakuti hanzi we are just giving him a warning without even arrest. Selective application of law. Pamuchazomira kuti enough is enough, maZimbabweans ndepapi. Ndoda kuziva guys kuti when are we gonna stand and say enough is enough? Varume toita sei? Hanzi nasekuru Mdara chamisa ari kutambisira nguva uwo ZANU inoda hondo sena I'm ready. Sekuru ndogara nchitaurira vanhu. MuZimbabwe we've got 2 fronts. We've got a political front and a military front. Vanachamisa, they are fighting their war on a political front. But isusu maZimbabweans, the able-bodied people, we don't need Vanachamisa to lead the military front. Because ZANU-PF is on 2 fronts. On the military front and on political front. So if we don't put our gear up on military front, that means you and me, we will perish without seeing a better Zimbabwe in our life. Andra Mkoma Donald Joe, Mkoma Yuda, I hope you are doing well. Tinokufarira zvikuru kunyanya nebasa guru ramurikuita. Thank you Mkoma Don. Saka nyaya yatikutaura ndeyekutaura kuti let's all admit here our failure to follow the military front. That is the only solution in our country. People might talk of the political front, but the people who are pushing the political front from ZANU-PF, they've got the army behind themselves. So ZANU-PF is fighting on 2 fronts, the political and the military front. MDC is standing by the political front. We are lacking the militant part that will match the military part of ZANU-PF. Ndosaka uri kuona zvino zvavakutaura kuti upinde basa kuarmy unofanira kubva nekuzanu. Upinde basa kuprison unofanira kubva nekuzanu. Upinde basa kupolice unofanira kubva nekuzanu. That means ZANU-PF is now everything. Munanga gwaitaura, we are the police, we are the army, we are the judiciary, we are the executive, we are everything. Now they are turning themselves into everything in front of dejected Zimbabweans, in front of hopeless people. Taita varombo, urombo hwedu. We are cowards. No chokwadi privy. We are cowards. Totuita varombo, tuita ma cowards. Tofa tichisekerera. Tichisekerera. Totourawa tichisekerera. When we examine whatever is happening today in Zimbabwe, ladies and gentlemen, I don't think there is a normal Zimbabwean who would look into this achisekerera kuti ndiri muZimbabwe. There is total political damage. The people of Zimbabwe today are crying. We need a solution, ladies and gentlemen. We need a people-oriented solution. We are in a dangerous path. Our country, Zimbabwe, has gone down. This is what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen. Mkoma Alex, I don't care whether I'm blocked or not. I'll go and use my YouTube account. I've got a YouTube channel that I can still beam live from YouTube. I don't care about Facebook, but I'll go and do my live on YouTube channel. Because I'm looking at, we need a solution in Zimbabwe. When you are dealing with a military government, which is fighting on two fronts, I don't think it's nice to dwell just on a political front. This is time Zimbabweans must be braced up for confrontation. Because whatever we saw today, that calls for a confrontation. That's not politics at all. Hakuna politics dzakadaro. Hakuna politics dzatiri kuona dzirikuitwa muZimbabwe. That is the military style. That is the worst dictatorship in SADC, or the worst dictatorship that you have ever witnessed in this country, Zimbabwe. Why are we allowing these widespread abuses to happen in our country? Sei tiri kuregerera zvakashata zvichiitika. Why are we allowing this to happen? Why are we allowing this to happen, ladies and gentlemen? Why are we allowing ourselves to suffer? We are suffering under a chaotic government, a lawlessness government. This must spark an uprising in Zimbabwe. The people of Zimbabwe must rise up. We all must rise up against all these injustices that we are witnessing today. Why are we allowing ourselves to suffer under ZANU-PF? Why? Why are we surrendering our humanity to ZANU-PF? Why are we surrendering our dignity to ZANU-PF? Ladies and gentlemen, we have seen how Libyans did. Libyans, they suffered a lot of violence under Gaddafi. Gaddafi will go and say, look, I'm giving them benefits. I'm doing them this. Whilst he was oppressing those people. So the Libyans chose between benefits and freedom. Although they were getting benefits, they said money can't buy freedom. What the people of Libya wanted was their freedom. This is why they took it to the extreme to say, okay, fine, we can take up arms against General Gaddafi. Today, we are talking of Gaddafi who does not have a grave. You go to Libya, you will never see Gaddafi's grave there. Ladies and gentlemen, toramba here tichitambura kusvika narini. MaBritish ndo vototaura kuti aiwa kuvharirwa kuita vana Joanna Mamombe kwakuda kuti tiise more sanctions against Zimbabwe. MaForeigners vototaura isakanyarara. Tanyararirei vana veZimbabwe, tatyei. Pane violence yamusina kuona here muZimbabwe. Kuti mutauro tiri kutya violence, pane zvamusina kuona here. For the past 41 years, munitaura kuti hamuna kuona ma-abductions, hamuna kuona ma-murders, hamuna kuona ma-disappearances. Munitaura kuti hamuna kuzviona, ma-rapes achiitwa neZANU-PF. Munitaura kuti hamuna kuona vanhu vachirepwa. Muna kududza kuti hamuna here kuona vanhu vachirepwa muZimbabwe? Tanyararirei. Let's look at how Egyptians did it. The pharaohs. Kwaona mudhara ainzi Mubarak aita anzi inini handina zvandoitwa inini. The Sudanese kwaane munhu ainzi 𝗪𝗵𝗂𝗶𝘁 aitaura kuti anzi mese murimbwa. 𝗪𝗵𝗁𝗂𝗁 akasvika akati mese murimbwa. MaSudanese aihukura kuti vachigara pasi. One man. Zimbabwe is being held at ransom by less than 50 people. Less than 50 people. Vanhu vekuti tikasvika kubata nemaoko chakuti g kuvaverenga vasvike 50. They are holding your life at ransom. They are making you drink sewage. They are making you die from diseases. Because iwewe une chinhu chinonzi fear in you, you are scared. You are scared. Scared of the unknown. Ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen. Even my borders, they've sealed the borders. They can't allow people to go out, to go buy food. Mabhazi esarikunzi ngaitwe 𝗧𝗵𝗂𝗂. Your own bus that you bought with your money. Riri kunzi ngaitwe 𝗧𝗵𝗂𝗂. How much are you going to get? Chinorwadza zvutaura nababa Flo. Vanhu ivo vandiri kutaura ivavo kwavaverenga ichembere dzaparara. Zvinhu zvinorwadza that they are putting stringent conditions to tighten your life. Kune vafana vanga vachichera jecha 𝗧𝗵𝗂𝗂𝗁 vachitengesa. Vakaenda vakanokumbwa vese vakasungwa. ZANU-PF dati vanhu ivo vararame nei? Hakuna mabasa. Kuchera ivhu jecha otengesa harisi goridhe harisi diamond. Kungochera 1 liter yejecha otengesera munhu asi kuda kuchera. Wotosungirwa izvozvo. MaZimbabweans atete Flo mataura. Mari dzamaive nadzo mumabhengi muchizviti we are rich, we are rich. Ma-US dollars amamunawo akachinjwa into bond. Kana ungari $500 wakapuwa 500 bond. Munganyarira kuti sei. Munhu akakunhokora itsoka, munhu akaipa iyeye. Munhu akaroya maZimbabweans akavapa mupfuhwira wokunzi munyarare kana muchinge modzvanyirirwa. Munhu akaipa iyeye. Saka ndati ngatitarisei. What happened in Algeria? What happened in Tunisia? What happened in Egypt? What happened in Libya? Vaidzvanyirirwa sezvamuri kuita izvozvo. But vakasvika pakuti tasvika at the end of this. This is the right time to fight. And I'm sure the right way to fight them this time is let's register to vote. Fellow Zimbabweans, ipapo tinowapedza, I am telling you. Hazina Junior K's brother Yuda, I am with you only. What's needed muZimbabwe? Munoda chitororo, Mnangagwa amame. Toda border gezi, inorwisa Mnangagwa. Varume. Ndosaka muri kuona kunyange George Charamba akandiblock. Ndakaenda ndikamunyorera ndikati iwewe. You mislead zvimadhara izvi. Zvachembera zvimadhara hazvitombozive kana technology chaiyo. Ndione kuchizvinyorera maspeech muchigara pasi nezvinhu mabogus lawyer muchisa zvimutemo zvakashata kudai kuomesera vana veZimbabwe. Ndakamuudza George Charamba ndikati you destroyed Robert Mugabe. Mugabe achifunga ari kuitirwa favor vanhu vari kuita political analysis achidestroyiwa Mugabe. Ndikati you send Mugabe to the dustbin of politics, to the wrong side of history. Now he is doing the same with Emmerson Mnangagwa. When Mnangagwa came, we thought he had learned a lesson from Robert Mugabe. He never learned anything. Instead, he's doing worse than what Mugabe was doing. Tonyarara here. As first, we have to identify how they rig elections. We know at the floor how they do it. We know how they do it. But Tonyarara here, when elections are rigged, Trongotaura one first day my elections are rigged. Tikangoridzirwa pfuti chete. Unoziva kuti ndaitaurira maZimbabweans. Ndikati mukangoona mune government inenge yatopfura munhu chete ngouraya munhu chete, ngachitosimuka chimoto, musadzoka kumashure. Because already patofiwa. Chatodzokera kumashure chi takutya chisi pafitafa. Tiri kufa. We are not doing enough, ladies and gentlemen. If you look at Zimbabwe, it's the majority in the migration in this world. Count how many Zimbabwe migrated. Count how many Zimbabwean refugees are out there. We've got the largest number of people who have left Zimbabwe. How are you, Cooper? How are you doing, my brother? Ladies and gentlemen, we have faced serious abuses ever since in our lifetime. The recent mutilation of our constitution, that should speak volumes, that should speak for its own. We must say that must be a way to stimulate us. We must react to that. We must fight that type of mutilation of our constitution, of our rights. Varume kana chinzi munyika munofanira kusara musina parliament, ngamusare musina parliament in Zimbabwe. But the parliament is serving no purpose. It is the one that is destroying people today. Ladies and gentlemen, it is crucial for you and me at this juncture to fight for our rights, to fight for our freedoms. We are waiting for an unknown power to come and help you, come and help me. 𝗪𝗵𝗁𝗂𝗂 zviri sei? Your life has been wrecked. My life has been wrecked. Chasara chi now? Chasara chi? Chotonotaura ichi ndo chatakuda kutarisira ichi. Chi chasara? A great number of people have disappeared. A great number of people have died. They've been murdered by ZANU-PF. The constitution of our country has been murdered by ZANU-PF. Apasina chasara. Ma-organization atiri kuda kutarisira kuti anouya kuzotibatsira, hakuna organization inouya kuzotibatsira muZimbabwe. We have to help ourselves. We have to stand for ourselves, ladies and gentlemen. We must identify our own problems and bring our own solutions. Toramba tichisekerera. Tisamasimairi pamuromo. Kuita maplitse esmairi nekudzvanyirirwa. If you look at the scale and the gravity of human rights abuses that Zimbabweans suffered, perpetrated by ZANU-PF since 1980, that should be enough to stimulate any Zimbabwean to stand up and say enough is enough. We have endured months, weeks, years of fighting. We have endured days, weeks, months of voting. We have done everything that we should be doing in our country. But all the effort that we put in the last 21 years to build a formidable opposition political party have just collapsed today. We have replaced MDC as a political party with the mediocrity that we mustn't have allowed in our political party. The party has been snatched from your hands by 𝗧𝗵𝗶𝘀 surrogates. Let me issue a stern warning to those sellouts. You have committed enough violations of even our party constitution. You have committed enough violations in our national constitution. That is tantamount or amount to war. You have declared war against the people of Zimbabwe. Despite that, you have seen abductions of civilians in our country. You have seen people taken hostage in our country. You have seen ill treatment and summary killings of Zimbabweans by ZANU-PF. You have seen the state being captured by ZANU-PF. All that should come to an end. And Monzora and his company, we are giving you a stern warning to say if you see Zimbabweans reacting now, it's because of everything that you have done from 1980. ZANU-PF is set to launch the destruction of democracy in our country. ZANU-PF has critically destroyed our standing in our country. Hauchafambi panyika uchitaura kuti ndiri muZimbabwean unongoshitonyara kuzvitaura kuti inini I'm a Zimbabwean. Hachinonetsa muntaraunda vanosimudza musoro oro miromo ndisu tiri kunze kwenyika. Zimbabwe inopisa mukuru wangu kuda tinoda, but now ndo mawana. I think vanhu vari muZimbabwe vapiswa zvakwana. Despite all these risks that we went through, despite everything that we saw, and a large number of people who fled poverty, who fled killings, who fled torture, who went outside Zimbabwe, are the people at the moment who are pained at what we are seeing in our country. Vanhu vari muZimbabwe vari kuona but vari kutya kutaura. Taita chirwere chekutya. Toda kufanira kutsvagirwa vaccine yekuti vaccinatwa kutya. Tisabatwe nekutya zvemuupenyu. Ladies and gentlemen, we must come up together. Ma political scientists hunzai magadzirai ma vaccine ti vaccinate vanhu kusatya. Vanhu vari kutya to vaccinate kuti vasatya. Because if you look at what is happening now, it's continuation of violence, imposition of stringent requirements to participate in politics in our country. If you look at the foreign nationals who visit Zimbabwe, like Chinese, are allowed to walk freely in our country. But our people, our children, are allowed to suffer. They have nothing to eat, no roof over their head, spend all these years struggling just to let the Chinese enjoy our wealth. The majority of Zimbabweans are suffering. Toita sei. Todini varume. Takutange takatsvaga mavisa ekunopinda kusuffering. There is a world known as suffering world, where all Zimbabweans got visas to enter that suffering world. And we can't go back. Where we took ourselves to, we must find a way to come back, ladies and gentlemen. We must be not migrants of poverty. We must not be refugees of poverty. We must be focused to make sure that our country comes back. Zvinhu zvinorwadza. If I look, when I arrived in the UK in 2008, I had a chance to visit a lot of cities in this country. I had a chance to find myself in different parts of England. I never saw a soldier holding a gun in this country for the past 12 years. I only saw police twice with guns. But this is a country with 78 million people. So, ladies and gentlemen, basically what I'm saying is, the oppression that we have suffered, the oppression that Zimbabweans have suffered, it must come to an end. Our suffering must have an end. It's not an indefinite suffering, ladies and gentlemen, that we are seeing today. Ndarwadziwa with what I've seen today, that MDC has opened doors, has opened doors to allow ZANU-PF to mutilate our constitution, allow ZANU-PF to abduct our constitution, murder our constitution, kill our constitution. Takatarisa. Varume. Toita sei. Apana violence yatisina kuona muZimbabwe. Apana. So apana chakashata chinoitwa pasi panapa chisina kuitwa muZimbabwe. Muntaura kuti chii chisina kuitwa muZimbabwe chamakaona chakashata pasi panapa. Abuse and persecution of political cadres. Apana chakashata chatisina kuona. Ladies and gentlemen, I am saying this. Zimbabwe government must not be surprised to see a rise of armed groups in Zimbabwe. Because the people of Zimbabwe are sick and tired now. They will be dealing with a military government. They won't be dealing with the civilians. Because you are, our army, refusing to relinquish the political space so that you focus on defending a country. This will lead Zimbabweans to arm themselves and fight you. Because you are fighting innocent people. You are fighting civilians. Until when? I've seen a lot of civilians being shot and killed by the Zimbabwe National Army. They interfere and intervene in state politics, taking a side, a political side, identifying themselves as ZANU-PF. The people of Zimbabwe, they don't want a political army. They want a national army. So for you to call yourselves Zimbabwe National Army, you are not telling us the truth. But you are just hiding behind that name so that you continue to kill civilians. I am appealing to the world that this is high time that the world should intervene. The world must intervene. Because definitely Zimbabweans are going to escalate this. They're not going to sit on their laurels now and say, look, let them butcher us the way they have been butchered us for the past 41 years. We relocated, some of us. We came to the UK. Some went to America. Some are in Canada. But if you ask us, what did you flee? Violence, killings, torture, incarceration. Kushikarin, until when? Until when Zimbabweans should continue to suffer this abuse? Ndopa maona ndataura nhasi ndikati, this type of cruelty is like cruelty to animals. We are being treated as lesser human beings. Hapana ari kutionawo sevanhu vane rights avo mukurarama, political rights, civil rights. Hapana ari kutiona muZimbabwe sevanhu vane rights iwayo. So far, we lack a competent parliament. We are suffering, we are under attack from the government. We are under attack from the House of Assembly. We are under attack, ladies and gentlemen, from the people that you put an X to vote for. Saka makuona tichitaura kuti the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is not effected in our country. Zimbabwe ndo nyika one yakatora the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, vakabvarura vakati vanhu vari mu animal farm vanonzi maZimbabweans ava they don't have human rights at all. We don't have rights at all. Zimbabweans do not have rights at all. If you look at several cases of arbitrary detention in our country, this is when you see that you have got no rights at all. You are not allowed to talk about human rights. And vanenge vachikutaurira kuti iwewe marights ako ukamataura zvatopera. Andiri muri kuona nyaya yatiri kutaura. Ini ndarwadziwa zvangu. Looking at what 𝗪𝗵𝗁 and ZANU-PF have done to the people of Zimbabwe, have done to our constitution. Ndo chii chiri kuitika muZimbabwe? Vana veZimbabwe takatarisa takanyarara. Hanzi na junior, but brother Yuda, why is it dzimwe nyika dzikaabuse human rights adzo, dzimwe nyika dzinopindira? But why is it dzimwe nyika in Zimbabwe it's high time of suffering but hadzisi kupindira? Mauya nequestion yakanaka mukoma junior. Nyaya iripo ndeye kutaura kuti maZimbabweans tiri kutarisira kuti tipindirwe nedzimwe nyika isusu tisina chataita. Andiri muri kuona? Tiri kutarisira kuti dzimwe nyika dziuye kuzotibatsira tisina chataita, because takagara takanyarara, hapana zvatiri kuita. Saka dzinouya sei nyika idzodzo? Hakuna nyika inosvika ichipinda ichitaura kuti ayazobvisa government yeZimbabwe. Hakuna. That will never happen. That will never happen. Kuti kune dzimwe nyika dzinongouya dzotaura kuti ayazobvisa government yeZimbabwe nhasi, kutaura kuti muda kwabvisire notanzi varova vanhu. Hakuna nyika dzakadaro. But isusu kana tarwadziwa nezviri kuitika, we must stand up and rise up. We must rise up. Anditi mona? But tikamirira kuti kuchauya nhingi kuzotibatsira, havauyi vanhu ivavo, they will never come. Ndosaka muri kuona zvino izvi munhu wese andiri kutaura naye. Munhu wese ari kutaura kuti Zimbabwe iri kuda hondo. MuZimbabwean wese arwadziwa ari kutaura kuti now we need a war in our country. if these guys manage to remove Ian Smith for the same reasons that they are doing today, why can't Zimbabweans remove them the way they removed Ian Smith? Every Zimbabwean today is crying that if it means we need to go to a war, let's start the war now. Because where we are is the same level that Zimbabweans got with Ian Smith. Or probably we are worse than where they were with Ian Smith. But they found that Ian Smith has refused to allow democrats to run Rhodesia. And what did they do, these guys? They started organizing for a liberation war. To say we want to liberate ourselves from the bondage of Ian Smith. And eventually, they did. They eventually did that. And I don't know why Zimbabweans today, we've got cell phones. During the Mugabe era, when they were organizing for a liberation war, they used to write letters. Imagine kuti tsamba yainyorwa kubva muHarare yaizosvika kuRussia kwapera mazuva mangani. VekuRussia vaiverenga kuti kune vanhu vari kuZimbabwe vari kutambura vafunga kurwisana naIan Smith. Vopindura tsamba iyai yaitora kana mumwe mwedzi kudzoka kubva kuRussia. But these guys managed to organize themselves, come together. Kuunganidza zvavaifunga kuti this is enough arsenal to fight Ian Smith. Now, we've got everything at our disposal than that time, that era. We cannot organize ourselves. It's not about war only that can remove ZANU-PF. Ndakataura last time ndikati we just need civil disobedience in our country. Because what we are obeying is not the norm of a well-run country. But Zimbabweans have given a deaf ear. Andiri manzwa. Ukada kuona kana vanhu vatofunga kuti ma politicians vanotitungamirira. Ukaona kana vachitaura so. Unonse kuona kuti apa hapana chakanaka chabuda. So today ZANU-PF sponsored MDCT. They voted with the ruling part in the Senate to finalize the foundation of imperialism. An imperialist president, Anonzi Mnangagwa. They passed a controversial constitutional amendment bill number 2. And the bill sailed without resistance at all. So the die has been cast. The decision is left up to you, Zimbabweans. Kuti zvaitwa izvi ndo zvamakavavhotera here? Ndizvo here zvamakataura kuti vakuru takuisai kuparliament, ma-MP, ma-senator, machiita akuisai kuparliament, monoti representer. Is this what Zimbabweans chose? MP akangwara unodzoka kuvanhu unotaura. Varume, I think inini, today I'm not going to talk a lot. Nuboita nurse my injured heart. But this is definitely destructive. I don't understand. Kuti vana monzorava, munoti vanhu vakaita sei. Is this what Monzora meant when he was saying victory is certain? Is this the victory that Monzora has preached to the people of Zimbabwe? No victory avaitaura herei vaMonzora. With the victory is certain. Ukazwa vanhu vachinzi mahure, ndo mahure aya. Aya ndo mahure. Ndo ukazwa vachinzi mahure, aya ndo mahure. And tazviregerera isusu maZimbabweans. We must bring this to an end. Ladies and gentlemen. Ndinofunga muri kuona mood yandiri today. That I'm not even in a mood to present anything. I'm just in a mood of confrontation. This is very, very painful. Takavaka MDC for the past 21 years. Vakomana pakafomwa bato iri. Atatisingarare isusu vana Yuda. Ukabvunza vanhu vandaifamba nawo, takanga tisingarare isusu. Tairara tichifamba usiku hwese. Tichigadzira party inonzi MDC. We never dramatized our ideas, but we put our ideas into reality. We had sympathetic people during our time when we were forming this party and launching MDC. Some people were being busy enjoying ZANU-PF money there, the likes of Monzora, when we were running around setting up structures in our country. And all of a sudden, within a space of an hour, all the sweat that we put in setting up the party has been destroyed. I honestly believe that you and me, we have let the party down. I feel it's now high time we should be acting. In my opinion, ladies and gentlemen, Zimbabweans, you are to blame for everything that has happened today. The mutilation of our party, the mutilation of our constitution, the killing of our party by Douglas Monzora has shown us that, or the history will remember us as cowards, as people of immoral needs. Enindarwadziwa wakomana. Anditoda kunyeperai. Mira ndinoda kutsvaga tweet yaJonathan Moyo. Pane zvandoda kutaurirai ndobva ndaenda. I'm not going to stay long. Autsvaga tweet yaJonathan Moyo. I'm not going to stay long, guys. Kana smile chacha haibudi. Smile chacha haibudi. Hapana smile inobuda hapo warume. Ndruishaya Twitter ya Moyo. Pane Twitter yandamboona yandaiwana. This Twitter yanyorwa naJonathan Moyo, I'm going to read it. Hanzi contrary to the 𝗪𝗄𝗄 propaganda. 𝗪𝗄𝗄 munozadzonzi 𝗪𝗄𝗄. Vafana vaya 𝗪𝗄𝗄 vanotamba vaya. Contrary to the 𝗪𝗄𝗄 propaganda, ZANU-PF does not have majority or does not have 2/3 majority in their house in parliament. This puts into sharp perspective the harm that has been dealt by the Republic by the 31st March 2020 Supreme Court judgment, the recall of MDC MPs and Monzora's treachery. Paitwa a breakdown yanga ichiratidza ZANU-PF does not have 2/3 majority in parliament yekuti this bill could have passed. Hanzi ma constituencies ma MPs ZANU-PF yanga ine 145 ma MPs, MDC yanga ine 63, National Patriotic Front yanga ine 1, MDCT ya Kupe yanga ine 0, haina chayakawana. Azoenda akataura akati all in all ma MPs anosvika iwo 251 vanofanirwa kuvepo. ZANU-PF yakazotora ma MPs anokwana 176, MDC ikasara ne73. MDCT yakaisa Kupe ikaisa uko kuna 1 independent anonzi Muliswa. All in all vanhu vaifanira kuita 270 but kune 251 ma MP variko. Andiri maona zvikanzi vanhu avakwane ZANU-PF ukada kuverenga ma members of parliament ainayo avakwanise 2/3 majority. Avakwanise 2/3 majority. Saka vaitoda MDC tsvangirai yavatsvangirai kuti ivabatsire. Varume handifunga kuti vatsvangirai kwavari vane runyararo ikoko. I don't think wherever Tsvangirai is has got peace. Indarwadziwa. Regai ndivati guys. For tonight, regai ndiende. Regai ndivati boss andina kufara nezvandaona. Hanzi Monzora selling out is the only thing that will enable amendments to be to the constitution plus further usurping of the will of the people's power. The will of the people. Ndo vamaona ngoma hopo chingono vanyorazve zvikanzi the nation should be reminded daily that ZANU-PF doesn't have 2/3 majority in parliament. Hanzivai kuti ZANU haina 2/3 majority, and that it is Douglas Monzora who has made it possible for Mnangagwa to tear up the constitution, making life more painful for the people of Zimbabwe. And Hans, you are spot on. Hans, assuming a full constituted house, ZANU-PF has 180 members of parliament out of 270, which means they've got 66.6% or 2/3 basing on the current. Hans, ZANU-PF kana chida kuwana 2/3 majority. Inofanirwa kuwana 180 members of parliament out of 270. Inozvane 176. Saka they don't have the majority to amend the constitution. But because of Monzora, who nyaya yakarongwa kudhara kuti vamonzora tichadai tozodai tokupai muchidya, then the rest, the rubbish people of Zimbabwe, they follow Monzora. Ndakaudzwa munhu hanzi tiri kupuwa $15 per person. Saka Bulawayo anenge arunzi akaramba kubhadhara. Saka Bulawayo akatoenda against Monzora nokuti vakaramba kubhadhara. Handiri muri kuona. Hanzi neumwe munhu, never in my life would I have imagined that president of MDC anozviti ndiri president weMDC ndiye akudya nezano. Ndabva ndatobvisa ndarwadziwa guys. I'm not sure kuti nemiwo kwamuri hanzi Eustace, can you comment? Handifunga kuti Eustace ungakomenda pakadai because ndo vane apa here ndikaona Eustace. Regai ndipedzi wakomana. And do these people ever think? They don't think about their future. They are thinking with their stomach. Because these people are hungry. They are hungry. Poverty ndo yauraya Zimbabwe politics. Ukatarisa vafana vaimhanyira passion java vai. Ukati vatarisa vaitoona kuti vafana hapana kana chavanacho. Kwete chavanacho chekuti varombo. But they are too much into poverty. Because when we look at poverty, it's a situation where a section of people are unable to afford minimum basic needs. The people we witnessed following 𝗪𝗪𝗂𝗏, they are the people who are unable to afford minimum basic needs of survival, the basic needs of life. You saw them fighting for Coca-Cola. They can't afford food. They can't afford clothes. They can't afford shelter. And if you look at today's world, they can't even afford education. Those are the people who witnessed running before Passion 𝗪𝗪𝗂𝗏. Those youth are in a high degree of poverty. They ended up fighting for Coca-Cola. If you look at their clothes, vakapfeka madhende. And unozotarisa unofanira havana kana pekurara vanhu. Vanokanorara panze. That is one challenge, or greatest challenge to the people of Zimbabwe. Poverty is the greatest challenge to the people of Zimbabwe. Poverty is the greatest challenge to our political life. The people of Zimbabwe, they've been subjected into intense poverty, which is a widespread evil in the world, a widespread evil in our country. Zimbabwe is suffering. Kule murisese mdara ndakakutsvaga kufonera mdara usudaira kana foni. Uyu mdara uyu amai vanoramwa mwana so havasi right amaya. I tried to call you mdara here and there, mdara. Ndikafonera mbuya ndikatara kuti ko murume wenyu. Ndikaona kuti mdara haasi kubatika saka ndakati mbuya don't worry. Don't worry. Ndikuuya. Andimona. Saka ndakatobhuka ndikuuya kuna mbuya. Imi migarai kwamuri ikoko. So you look at the poverty that Zimbabweans, if you see the number of Zimbabweans in poverty, unochema, the whole country is in poverty. Zvinhu zvinorwadza ukatarisa kutambura kuruta vana veZimbabwe now. Vana ukada kutarisa ndaitaura nemwe mufesi wangu aitaura zvika shepherd. Do you know how many people or how many children die each day in Zimbabwe because of these conditions of poverty? Ndikati handizivi zvikanzi almost kana kuti 1,000 to 5,000 children die in Zimbabwe due to poverty conditions. Hanzi change chaka kule pazimba vanhu vatambura sekuru. PaZimbabwe vanhu vatambura. Zvikanzi we have got a high death rate yevana, especially ne poverty. What 2/3 of Zimbabweans can hardly afford to have 2 meals a day. Vanhu vatambura kuZimbabwe. Ndakanzwa umwe munhu aitanzi ukapinda muZimbabwe wana motikari dzavari kudriver, ndikati count how many those cars. And vangani vari kudzidrive. Handidi maona. Saka tapinda degree yepoverty yakanyanya muZimbabwe. Ndosaka muri kuona ndozvakanganisa even politics dzedu. The people of Zimbabwe today, they've got no enough money to buy basic needs. The people are suffering. Ndakauya pano ndikataura the Maslow hierarchy of needs, talking about the physiological needs. Zvinhu zvakaita sana water. Takataura zvakawanda about food. Zimbabweans, they don't have money to buy food. Ukaona vafana vairwirana kokokora. Zvinhu zvakaoma. Ukada kuona the causes dziripo, is a political cause that we don't want to rise up and change this government so that we get a better economy. Poverty is created by lack of education. Taimbofunga takadzidza sere. Ndaona rimwe certificate reZIMSEC rine 18 ma-A's. Ndikati ndo kunonzi kudzidzaka. But tine high degree of poverty. Handidi maona. So in Zimbabwe taane a culture, what we call a culture of poverty, that has caused a lot of suffering to our people, to our Zimbabweans. That has stopped us from thinking. We no longer reason because of poverty. The country is in absolute poverty. If you look at what is in the country today, everybody is crying. Hakuna munhu ane chekudya. But there are solutions to poverty. If you look at Zimbabwe, it's a country with lots of opportunities that the country can rise any minute as long as it has got a good leader. Solution to our poverty is to make sure that we remove ZANU-PF. We make sure our education is valid, not like what we are seeing today. We cannot survive on donations and charity. Zimbabwe for the past 41 years was surviving on donations and charity. By now, 41 years of independence, we should be donating to other nations, to other countries, to other people. So, what we need to do, solutions to our problem, is the removal of ZANU-PF. If you and me can't fight to remove ZANU, that is the end of you and me. So we will continue to see high number of people dying from poverty. High number of people being deprived of basic everyday things. Things that we should be getting. Saka at the moment, ngatite zviri kutaurwa nevamwe. Kuti for you to get a shelter, for you to get food, for you to get enough education, for you to get even basic transportation, ability to pay for yourself, zvikwereti zvako chikwereta uchibhadhara. Uchizvibhadharira kuenda kunorapwa, kana kuti uchirapwa nestate. For us to get zvinhu izvozvo, ngatibvisei ZANU-PF. It's horrifying. If you look at the state of poverty of Zimbabwe today, being labeled the poorest country in the world, that is horrifying. Zvinhu zvekuti hatifanirwi kuregerera zvichienderera mberi. Munyika medu mamusikaonekwa kana anonzi natural disasters. Surprisingly, takuona El Nino ari kuuya achirova. Tane natural disasters munyika medu. Kuti munhu ataura kuti Zimbabwe iri overpopulated, tinenge tichinyepa. But takuona a high number of drug use. Vanhu vari kunwa doro vachirarama mabhawa. They don't think about tomorrow. Achizviri sei. Andi murikuona. If you look at a number of children are dying in our country, they are dying from hunger, they are dying from malnutrition, no access to medication or health care. Hakuna zviriko. Tane ukada kutaura ranzi ndisine best education in Africa ashashandi zvakuramba. Hands how far with the push to UK government against 𝗖𝗵𝗂𝗪 citizenship? I am not sure kuti vanhu vakatanga petition here zvaapapi. So if you look at the causes or the consequences of not taking action against ZANU-PF, it has left Zimbabwe with a high mortality rates, a lot of people dying, vana vari kufa from malnutrition, kushaya mishonga, a lot of things. My health risks aripo ukafamba muZimbabwe, masewage ari kubuda, ukaenda kunana 𝗪𝗿𝗂𝗶𝗃, hakuna mvura yakachena yekunwa, hapana pekugara pakanaka. Hanzi guys, chibvumirano cheZANU-PF chekuti Zimbabwe haitongwi nebhilo asi neropa yakangoma, nekuti vanoti chikoro kana kuti dzidzo yako haishandi pakutonga nyika yeZimbabwe. Saka ndo chibvumirano chatinacho neZANU-PF. Mugabe akasiya ataura kati never with a ballpoint. That means never with an X. What's next? We want to stop the high mortality rate. We want to stop this increase in health risks. We want to stop the pandemics that we see today. Vana HIV and AIDS. Zvinotofana kuzvimisa. We want to make sure that our children grow. We do our properties. Our children grow properly and contribute to the growth of the country. But now, where we are heading to an armed conflict. This is where we are heading to. And if you see armed conflicts down Southern Africa have been increasing. Mozambique has been quiet, but now it's burning. DRC has been burning. Very soon, don't get surprised to see Zimbabwe burning because of misgovernance. We have got rich people, billionaires in our country, but you find children die every day from poverty. Where are all those billions that are before election? Zimbabwe is a country with even hungry women. Ukaona chihure zvachaita muZimbabwe, vakadzi vevanhu vakutongoenda mumaneighbors vachihura kuti vafidhe varume vavo. Unozoona murume anoda kubata, mukadzi akurohwa, zvakuitwa zvakati, murume akubhadhariswa achirohwa. Ndo poverty iyo iya yatikutaura. Chihure vanhu vakuti yoenda. Mai mwana hatina chekudya panapa, toita sei? Anzi baba vakamboenda kuJoni vakadzoka vanenge vane mari, anzi enda ikoko unohura. Ndakambotaura nyaya panapa imwe musungwa aitaurira mukadzi wake kuti ndinotengesa mbudzi. Ndinotengesa mbudzi. Andi murikuona. So the degree of poverty that we have in our country has underprivileged even the development of the country. Toita sei. Toramba takanyarara here. I think ini nhasi murunyatsoona kuti kana kutaura kwacho I'm struggling. Kusunomataurira andoita ihasha dzakandibata nhasi hasha. Ndikuzwa mwoyo wangu kuita kudedera, ndikuzwa hasha dzakanyanya dzakawanda. Kuti zvakureva here kuti hatina zvatinogona kuvaita makuzano aya vana Munzura. Torega vachiuraya here democracy munyika yevatema. Totarisa here democracy ichifa ichiparara. I am in pain, sekuru. Pain chaichayo, inorwadza. Ndikatasa the form of government that we have. Ndikuita kunzwa kurwadziwa. There is no rule of man today. There is no democracy in our country. Constitution inofana kuve ichitigaidha is being mutilated nevanhu vari kutidheerera. Andi muri kuona? They don't respect us. They don't respect humanism. There is no equality in our country. No liberty, no freedom at all. There is too much illegitimacy in the hands of an autocrat. So what are we saying? Toramba takadaro ere vakomana. Takuda the people who think. Vana Socrates, vana Plato, vana Aristo, takuda vanhu vanofunga, vana Abraham Lincoln, ndo vanhu vatakuda munyika medu. Because hatisi kufunga, hatisi kurizina. Ndosaka muri kuona tasvika patiri ipapa. Vakomana, toitei nenyika. Toramba takatarisa here nyika ichienda kumawere. Saka ini ndiri kudaidzira nhasi kuti let's have power to the people. That is only what means democracy means. We need power to the people. Atikarambe takagara takatarisa. Yanguva yekuti simuke titaure. Yanguva yekuti simuke tiite zvinhu. Yanguva yekuti timhanyise matheorists vanotaura matheories kubva 1940 vachingoparidza matheories asina action. This is high time Zimbabweans must act. We must demand respect of fundamental rights of Zimbabweans. We must demand freedom of association. We must demand freedom of expression and opinion. We must continue to demand the separation of powers in our country. The independence of judiciary must be demanded. Transparency and accountability of public administrations. Free and independent media. These are some elements of democracy that we must be demanding now. Rights of people must be demanded. If you see today, we've got no right to choose. You choose parliamentarians today, Munzora Mangwana is recalling them because ana ED ne judicial. You cannot form a political associations. Unonzwa kutaura ranzi munhu ane 40 years angaite president wenyika, vanambwa vobvuma. Makava vobvuma izvozvo. Hatisina kana freedom of protest chaicha haubvumirwe, but enshrined in our constitution. Varume, toita sei kuti tiwanawo freedom to criticize. Vanamba vavo kuti muri kuba. Kwatove bhiri rimwe rikutoiswa rikupinda futi rekunzwa ngunzwa uchitaura kuti Zimbabwe kujail straight. Inini guys, I want panhasi ndo gainimirire pano. Ndikuzwa kurwadziwa. Ndine pain yakawedzerwa katatu. Ndapedza. Ngatisangane mangwana. Pamwe nenda mood kana kusekerera nhasi I can't smile, I can't. I can't salute, I can't smile. Kana mhoresa vanhu nhasi anombomhoresa munhu. Anditi maona. Saka tuna kubvisa dictatorship in our country. Ndo zvatinofana kuona kuti taita vakomana. Mnangagwa has sought absolute power, absolute authority. He wants everything. Kana statue yake ari kutoida kuti imiswe. Handisi kufara Eustace mfana. Ukauta ndikufara ndo ndikakuchaya nhasi. Nhasi kana kukuchaya ndokuchaya mfanami. Zvakaoma Eustace. Guys, chiregai ndiende. Hazvina kumira zvakanaka. Hazvina tombomira zvakanaka zvachose. Tonight, not good night. Ngataurei mangwana pamwe nenda mood yekutaura. Nhasi handisi. Thank you so much. Good night.